I'm going to introduce Myrna Lopez to talk about the translation and how to participate in that. Myrna, go ahead.
Okay. Hola, hola. Bienvenidos. Welcome. I'm just going to
Welcome.
share something in here with you. As you know, this presentation, it is bilingual. So just remember that you can go to find out the presentation. At the bottom of your screen, you will do. Give me 1 second. Okay, all right. At the bottom of your screen, you can go and find a little interpretation globe. You can give a click, or if you can't find it, you can also go by the 3 little dots and find interpretation, and then you will select your language. This is being translated simultaneously. So your Spanish, just pick Spanish right here, or if you want to hear in English, just press in English. All right, para los que nos acompañan, ya creo que saben cómo funciona esto. Váyanse a los puntitos, los 3 puntitos, seleccionen interpretación y seleccionen la palabra español para escuchar. All right.
Chades.
Back to you, Jim.
All right. Well, this topic is one of Ernest Holmes, Dr. Holmes' favorite topics, and it is so critically important in that he has immortality. Those of you that have the textbook, there's an entire chapter in there on immortality. If you happen to have the early recent book, Your Spiritual Power, there is another entire book in there, short book of 20 some odd pages called Immortality. And almost every book Ernest wrote, he talked about the necessity of immortality, of believing in immortality. And in one place, I don't have it right in front of me, he says that it is so sad because people who don't believe in their own immortality are really not happy. And he said happiness and belief in immortality goes, and it is really, really hard to be happy. So, and mostly, if you know Ernest Holmes and how he discusses things, he starts out with logic and reason, and then he usually tosses in Jesus or possibly one of the Psalms to kind of back it up, and some poets also. And that's how he argues things. But it's basically foundation is reason. But in this particular record that he wrote, I think it's a 33 RPM record, and you can we're only going to have 14 minutes of the record for time reasons, but you can get the full audio from the archives as well as the transcript. But anyway, on this particular, anybody here that's a Bible advocate, I'm going to click off a bunch of Bible verses. He's going to start out hard and heavy. I got Psalm 139, 7-11. I got Psalm 23, 4. I got Psalm 124, 7. And then immediately he switches from the Psalms of David over to the Apostle Paul, 1 Corinthians 15, practically the whole chapter. He's got 15, verse 21, verses 26, 35, 40, 43, 44, 47, and 49. And he rolls all those together. And that's how he starts the argument. He starts it with the biblical standpoint. And then later on in the talk, he's going to switch over to quoting poets.
Oh no, it is bad. Oh.
Writers and poets. Also, some of his own work. So, but he's going to throw in a lot of logic at the end. So he's going to do this one kind of backwards from what he normally does, and so you have to look at what audience he was thinking about, and This would be very appealing to a conventional Christian. And I think, and maybe that's where we thought the audience was for this LP record. So, with that in mind, keep your ears tuned, and you're going to hear some Psalms. You're going to hear some Apostle Paul, and then you're going to get into some logic. So it's really a very lovely speech that he's going to give. So, Kathy, I think we're ready to listen to Dr. Ernest.
It should be starting any second now.
This audio comes to you from the Science of Mind archives.
Whither shall I go from thy presence? Or whither shall I flee from thy spirit? If I
All right,
ascend up
Kathy, we
into
can't.
heaven,
It's a little hard in Spanish to hear.
if I take the wings of the morning and
Better?
dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea,
Can you hear it?
even there shall thy spirit lead me. If
Better.
I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowler. The snare is broken, and we are escaped, and there shall be no more death, for the former things are passed away. By man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ all are made alive. The last enemy that is to be destroyed is death. But some man will ask, how is it that the dead are raised up, and with what body? Now there are bodies celestial and bodies terrestrial. So also is the resurrection of the dead. The body is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. For there is both a natural body and a spiritual body. And so it has been written that the first man is of this earth, the second man is the Lord from heaven. And as we have all borne the image of this earth, so shall we also bear the image of heaven. These words, which are so very familiar to all of us since childhood, were written nearly 2,000 years ago, perhaps on some occasion when a beloved member of a family or a very dear friend had passed from this world, leaving behind only the memory of a life well lived and well loved. Then, as now, self-preservation was the first law of life. And so someone asked, is it really true that the soul is immortal? And if so, who is immortal, and under what circumstances? Is there really a spiritual body? And do we all, after leaving this body, go on to another one? For thousands of years before this query had been put, there had always seemed to have been a teaching that this physical body, which is but a physical instrument or vehicle for the soul or the spirit, which is not immortal and does not live forever, is merely the instrument for this world and its activities, and that when, by reason of any fact, this body is no longer a fit instrument for the soul, then the spirit quietly severs itself from the body. For as the song celestial said, never the spirit was born, the spirit shall cease to be, never. Never was time it was not. End and beginning are dreams, birthless and deathless and changeless, remaineth the Spirit forever. Death hath not touched it at all, dead though the house of it seems. Nay, but as one who layeth his worn-out robes away, and taking new ones saith, These will I wear today, so putteth by the Spirit lightly its garb of flesh, and passeth to inherit a residence afresh. For thousands of years, there had been the teaching that this physical universe is but a counterpart of a spiritual one, that the invisible things of God, as the Bible states, are made manifest by the visible, that this physical world is but a symbol or a token of an invisible spiritual universe in which even now we live, and that there is a counterpart or a parallel between the two worlds. And so when the man asked, how is it that the dead are raised up, and with what body, he answered his own question by saying there are bodies celestial and bodies terrestrial. There is a spiritual body and there is a physical body, and all men will someday inherit this spiritual body. Or as Robert Browning said, I shall arrive as birds pursue their trackless path sometime, someday, somewhere, somehow, some way, in God's good way, I shall arrive. Or as the disciples of Jesus asked him one day, what is God's relationship to the dead? And Jesus answered, as we should expect, not only an inspired spiritual genius to answer, but a great logician, a man of deep thoughtfulness and revelation. For he said, he is not a God of the dead, but of the living, for in his sight all are alive. This is not only an inspirational answer by a spiritual genius, it is a logical answer by a thinker. For God is life, and life cannot produce death. Science knows of no energy that can destroy itself. There are no dead people in my Father's house, Jesus said. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there ye may be also. For it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Or as Robert Browning said, 'Tis thou, God, who giveth, 'tis I who receive. This world is but the starting point for the evolution of that divine thing within us, which will go on forever and ever. Or as the poet said, ever as the spiral grew, he left the old house for the new. And this is the teaching, which is the basic principle of the great and profound philosophy of the Christian faith, that every man is an immortal soul on the pathway of an eternal destiny, destined ever to be more and never less himself, on and on and on. That in the Father's house there really are many mansions, many planes of self-expression, and that we pass from one to the other, and that as we die to one, we become resurrected to the other. For every death there is a resurrection, and for every resurrection there must be a death. Not a death of the reality, but a death of the particular form or sheath or body or manifestation we now live in. But we are all human beings, and we all do long for the touch of a vanished hand or the sound of a voice that is still. Yes, we are all human. We miss our friends. We miss their presence because love, friendship, is the greatest thing in the world. Love is the lodestone of life. It is the greatest gift of heaven and the highest treasure of earth. The poet said, a love so limitless, deep, and broad, that men have renamed it and called it God. We believe in the immortality and in the ongoingness of every soul, every mind, every spirit. For man is an incarnation of the living God. Something divine and eternal has entered into and will never depart from him. And all men must be immortal. We could not think that one person is immortal and another not. We cannot with intelligence believe that any profession of faith or confession of belief has anything to do with the eternal reality. When everyone believed that the world was flat, it was still round. Someday, everyone will have the grace to know and to proclaim that every person, no matter what his belief, no matter what his conviction, is some part, some incarnation of the living Spirit, and that that divine essence within him, which is God, must be and is as eternal as God himself, and that we go from this world into another, and that that which came with us, being immortal, being eternal, goes carrying with it everything that makes for the warmth and the color and the responsiveness of human personality. And just as when we entered this world, we were met by loving friends and tender care, so in the next, the same condition we have every right to believe will attend us. And with the dawn, their happy faces smile, which we have loved long since and lost a while. It is merely this physical body, this physical instrument that passes away, this thing that disintegrates with death. It is not that which makes for the warmth and the color and the responsiveness of the person himself, that thing which forevermore eludes us, that which responds to us, and that to which we respond is as eternal as God, as everlasting as reality itself. This is the lesson, this is the thought, this is the belief that the great and the good and the wise of all the ages have told us, that all men are on the pathway of an eternal destiny. There is nothing you and I could have done to change it. It is the gift of life. As Emerson said, we are beneficiaries of the divine fact. There is one life. That life is God. That life has given of itself equally, impartially, and impersonally to each one of us. And that which is eternal is non-material, non-physical, and that which life has given, it will keep. But someone might say, how can this be, since we have not seen the mind or the soul or the spirit? Well, as a matter of fact, what have we really seen? No biologist has ever seen life, yet his entire time is spent in studying the action and reaction of this invisible but elusive and unknown thing that he calls life, as though some unseen hand were manipulating it, some invisible host were guiding our destiny. No biologist has ever seen life. It forevermore eludes us. No. We may kill the nightingale, but we shall never capture its song. No man has really seen life at any time, nor has any physicist ever seen energy. He couldn't say that it looks like this or that or something else, and yet he deals with that energy which is in, through, around all things. And we might say of that energy as we do of the Spirit, in it we live and move and have our being. In an infinite sea of living energy. No physicist has ever seen it. Yet every physicist deals with it and believes in it. Nor has any psychologist seen the mind, that subtle and elusive thing without which we could not even be aware of our own existence. Where is it? What is it? What does it look like? You cannot isolate the mind. You cannot say it is in the brain or the fingers or the feet. And yet it is the mind and the action and reaction of the mind with which every psychologist deals, surely. He has never seen that invisible presence.
Okay, well, you notice that toward the end, he got all the way to when he said, "What we live and move and have our being," that's out of the book of Acts, 17:28. And I had forgot to mention that he also a little earlier mentioned Luke 20:38, John 14:2, and Luke 12:32. And then he had that, and I'm just going to read this if you happen to miss it. And this is the teaching which is the basic principle of the great and profound philosophy of the Christian faith. So I think he's going after, he's getting the Christians locked into immortality by reminding them what the Bible says. And then he's going to go on to go into religious science and bring up what religious science thinks about the immortality, and you'll find no conflict between the two of what he did. So I thought it was extremely clever, but that's just my opinion. So, Reverend Kathy, what am I missing here? Shall we go on to the breakout groups?
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to break into groups and we're going to discuss whatever comes up. And then we're going to get back together and somebody from each group, hopefully somebody is going to speak for a minute or so or less on what they talked about. So that's
Okay, the rooms are ready, Jim. I will pause the recording and then just accept your invitation.
Where's Tracy?
Oh, fun.
All back together? Yeah. Oh, I see Tracy Brown. Hi, Tracy. How you doing? Yeah. Okay. Well, we all broke into our groups and talked for a few minutes, and let's why don't we talk about what we talked about? And so I'm not seeing all the faces right now, but okay. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Maite is on it, if I may say. So she will speak in Spanish. For all of you that speak English, make sure that you select on the bottom of it your language, which it will be English. So it can be translated from Spanish to English.
Bueno, yo planteé una situación conflictiva respecto de la muerte a propósito del cuento El Principito. Un cuento que me han, bueno, para los que no me conocen, yo soy creadora y narradora de cuentos, además de practicante de ciencia de la mente. Entonces, me han propuesto trabajar con el cuento El Principito para púberes y adolescentes. Pero a mí el cuento El Principito, para los que no lo han leído, tiene un final donde, a mi juicio, el Principito decide al final ser picado por una serpiente para morir y encontrarse al dejar su cuerpo físico con la flor que tanto extraña que está en su planeta, en otro planeta. Entonces, a mí me genera un conflicto ético, porque si bien es cierto de que yo entiendo que nuestro cuerpo con la muerte se queda aquí y encontramos otra morada, otro hogar, ¿no? Yo entiendo la muerte así también. Mi cuerpo se queda aquí y encuentro otro lugar donde habitar. No este, sino otro. Me cuestiona, ¿no? El tema de que al mismo tiempo yo sé que yo decido yo tomo las decisiones que voy, o sea, sucede lo que yo voy decidiendo, va sucediendo lo que yo voy atrayendo. Entonces, con respecto al suicidio, que es algo que decide una persona, me confronta cómo presentárselo a púberes y adolescentes, porque hablamos de, bueno, la muerte es encontrar otra morada, encontrar otro lugar donde vivir, y finalmente el suicidio es una decisión personal. Pero me confronta mucho qué mirada darles a los púberes y adolescentes y no terminar generando una apología al suicidio a propósito de esta historia puntualmente, ¿no? Donde prácticamente el autor, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, nos plantea una situación de este tipo, ¿no? Donde el personaje principal toma esta decisión. Eso nos ha generado conflictos en el grupo. Yo planteé esta situación y siento que no hemos llegado a una respuesta. No pretendía que llegáramos a una respuesta, pero sí generó, no sentí que llegáramos a respuestas, ¿no? Sino a más preguntas. Gracias.
Well, I think that's a very good question. It's a very good area for us to think about, in that, religious science as an adult thing, it's pretty straightforward to understand that, there is a God, God is within us, and that when the body dies, God, goes on to the next plane, the God within us. But I think the question was, how do you explain that to a child? And I am not familiar with any books on how to teach religious science to a child. Does anybody know? I agree. You can't lay on a child things from the Bible and all that. You have to, and it has to make sense. Does anybody know how to, what's out there to that's useful for teaching children? I mean, this is, in the last 100 years, this has to come up in religious science. This can't be a new thing. Anybody know what the answer is to that one? Because I don't.
I'm a youth instructor in Unity, and I've been a coordinator of the youth programs. And you definitely have to have a progression into the ideas and everything, and it can be done, and it's a subject too broad to talk about in our situation, but I've been a teacher for 55 years, and the seed of our enlightenment is within us. So it behooves us as educators to nourish and water that seed, because the knowledge is within them already, and it just behooves us to be a gardener and tend to the garden.
Wow. Yeah. Tracy, you had a comment, Tracy Brown, that you know of a few books that might be helpful. Could you speak to that, Tracy?
Sure. What I put in the chat is I have seen books, and I just didn't make a list of them, and I am not remembering, but people actually showing me the book or sending out an announcement that they have just released a children's book with our principals or teaching our principals. And because I haven't done much work with our youth ministry or our children's ministry, it's like, oh, but we do have several people who that is their specialty. So maybe we can reach out to them and ask them what books they're using, especially the ones by CSL related ministers. And then, as Frederick said, I've seen in the bookstore in Unity environments books by ministers or other people in the Unity movement, and also Sheila McKeithen from Universal Foundation for Better Living released a children's book maybe a year or 2 years ago. So they're out there, but clearly we're not doing a good job of letting people know and providing them for those for whom it could be helpful. I'm complete.
And it sounds like if we find the best book, it might want to translate that into Spanish and African for that matter, Swahili or whatever it might be. I'm sorry, I see a couple of more hands up. Let's look at iPhone Cheryl. Go ahead.
Turn your sound on.
You're muted, Cheryl.
Okay. Am I? Oh,
Go ahead.
am I there?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to add on to that. I was brought up with this as a child. My parents, they went to lessons with a practitioner, and they used to come home and they would teach the lesson to us as children, and they would try to explain it in the best way possible. They would read a little out of the book, and then they would try to explain it to a small child's in a child's terms. And I thought my parents did an excellent job of bringing us up with this. And maybe sometimes that's the way to do it. It took a lot of patience and time, but my parents did it, and they were very good at it. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, and Kayleen? Is it Kayleen? You're muted. Okay.
Yes, I'm unmuted now. Yes. My name is Kaleem. I have worked in the youth ministry in the past for several years. Even though I don't recall any specific book, but I do recall the many metaphors that we used. And of course, the particular one that we're probably all familiar with is the butterfly. So we'd often discuss or share the different phases the butterfly goes through, even though the appearance of the outer appearance may look different, but yet there's this one something that seems to be expressed in all the different forms. And therefore, when the last form disappears, it doesn't necessarily mean that the inner spirit, a soul, disappears with it. So that's so we often, of course, in children's stories as well as adult stories, use the metaphor to explain something that's very challenging to discuss purely on a physical term. Okay.
Okay. Well, was there another hand up? Kathy, I don't.
I think we got everyone so far.
Well, we're certainly getting into a fascinating facet of religious science, aren't we? You know what I'd like to do? People that know David Alexander and Christian Sorensen, they were raised as babies on religious science, and I just wonder who taught them and who taught them what. Maybe that's another exercise for us. But anyway, we're rapidly running out of time, aren't we, Kathy? And
We are.
we certainly appreciate all the input we've got and had some fun doing it. Kathy, did you want to say something about the archives? Or?
I do. And so again, just to honor people's time, I just wanted to thank Jim and thank everyone for just a great discussion. And we love these monthly lunch and learns on the third Thursday of every month. So thank you for coming. And if you can't make it, there's a few people who emailed. We do our best to put the recording right away the same day on our YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is a wonderful resource to go back and listen to older lunch and learns as well. And I am going to share my screen just briefly to our beloved ScienceMindArchives.com website. We are starting to do these special presentations. They're kind of a gift to people who are friends of the archives. If you're a friend, we're so grateful, and they are complimentary and free for you. And if you're not a friend, we invite you to be a friend. And you just kind of go up to our website to join us and individuals. And it's pretty easy. You have a choice over here on the left is the website subscription, and then over here is being a friend. $16 a month or $189 a year. And it includes the complimentary website subscription. So they're really wonderful. We're so excited to have Dr. Jesse Jennings talk about the nearly 100 years of Science of Mind magazine. It helps you find yourself. I also wanted to share on our website, we constantly are updating our resources. So if you go to resources, New Thought resource, and research tools, is that where I want to go? Well, this has been updated too. And so we now have our library books available, whatever's in our database. You can search our Ernest Holmes inventory. We have for free this download from Reverend Catherine Neville Smith, the Ernest Holmes on. And also you can search Science of Mind magazine by issue date or by author. And also Dr. Tom Sanders' source book. That is $25, but it's almost 1,000 pages. It's over 900 pages of wisdom, thanks to Dr. Tom Sander and his research. Again, under resources, one I wanted to point out, whoops, let's see, it gets a little tricky. So resources, New Thought resource, and Past Perfect. I think last week you met Britt Burns. He's our new archivist librarian. We're so excited to have him. And he has been working in Past Perfect. So as he's finding treasures and adding them to our Past Perfect database, you can find them. And so I just encourage you to keep coming back. I think, again, Jim showed me my favorite trick, which is random images. And so it's just fun to go there and kind of see the different images that are up here and available in our archives database. You know, if you're doing a project, go to your keyword search and kind of see, you know, what comes up. If you look up my favorite word, peace, a prayer for world peace, a peace pole project, the Peace That Conquers, Voltron Theater. I mean, all sorts of fun things you can find in our Past Perfect. And so if you want to go back to the website, the trick question is you click on the logo and it'll take you back to the main website. So that's my little fun fact about the archives for you. And so we're so grateful again that you are here. You know, hand it back to Jim.
Kathy, just to show off a little bit, why don't you go back to the website and go to products and go to Ernest Holmes and see how fast you can pull up this recording of immortality.
Is it immortality or you? Oh, that's a good word.
Well, just plain immortality will work. It's you just go to products, immortality, and see what happens.
There it is, message on immortality. There's another immortality, audio prayer, I believe in the immortality of the soul. Lots of immortality.
All right.
This is a good one too.
How about you will live forever then?
Yep, I know. That's awesome. So I have to move on.
Once you get good at this, it's like 30 seconds and you can find almost anything. Forever.
There it is.
Okay, well, come on. Okay, you got the transcript, but we also got the recording.
Right here. Here's the audio recording.
There's the audio.
Good job, Jim. Look how good he is. And so you do have to be either a website subscriber or a friend of the archives to get the audio recordings. And I'm not logged in at the moment, but again,
you get 20 a month, 20 free a month.
Right?
I mean, they're free once you join the club, you know. So think about that. I mean, this is just an absolutely wonderful thing we do.
And it supports so we can digitize more items and make them available for you and for our world forever. So our teaching can live forever as well.
All right. Well, we need a closing of some sort. Reverend Kathy, and thanks everybody for this was a lot of fun, wasn't it? And thank you, people. Thank you all who contributed. I'm sorry, Avis Ives, did you have something to say that you're muted? You're muted.
No.
No, you're all set.
Just waving goodbye.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you once more, and Kathy, shall we close this one up?
You bet. And so just with deep gratitude, I'm just so grateful for this beautiful day. I'm grateful for this incredible teaching of science of mind. I'm grateful for each beautiful soul who's been called here right now for this lunch and learn to open their hearts, to open their souls, to lift up their spirits with the spiritual teaching. Absolutely grateful for Dr. Jim Van Cleave, our board president, for his divine light, his theologian heart, and all that he shares so beautifully for our teaching in our archives. Grateful for Myrna on our board of directors, for Lorenza, our translator, and just everyone here. Please just feel that deep gratitude in your heart and carry this wisdom out into the world. Make the world a better place. Lift it up. Peace on earth. Peace in our hearts, knowing we're all blessed. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you.